But today, people, hot show with two T's in hot. That's how hot it's going to be. Because last night, I did something just simply crazy. I did something bonkers, and I know that you guys expect some normalcy from me, some decency. But last night I did something nuts. At 9 o'clock, for 2 hours, people, I sat down and watched the Republican debate on Fox News. And I sat there for 2 hours with my good pen, my good comedy pen. It's one of those, it's not like a Bic with that kind of ink. It's one of those loose ink pens. I don't know what you call those. You know, it's got that, just that ink that just goes. You know what I mean? It does half the writing for you. I sat there and I just wrote and wrote and wrote for literally for about 2 hours because these people are idiots. And this is only half. This 10. I assume there's about 10 on the Democratic side. And somebody is going to run this country. And I know we have Bush now, so what's the damn difference? You know, we have an idiot. We could have another idiot. But it was just unbelievable listening to this craziness. And I took a lot of notes, and I want to talk some of this stuff out. I want to get your opinions as well. Of course, the call-in number. We started off with Iraq. And so Iraq, and the impression I get with McCain is that McCain just likes being in war. And I know a lot of people say the exact opposite of that because, you know, he was in war and he was a POW and he knows the horrors of war. But he just there's something about him that just seems like he likes being in a war. He said that, that he'll be the last man standing in Iraq. And he thought that was like a good thing. I'm going to be the last man standing. Now, I'm pretty sure if you're the last man standing, that something went severely, severely wrong. You know what I mean? McCain, if you're the last guy there, you know what I mean? You're the last American, you're the last supporter, you made a mistake, buddy. So he just seems too pro-war. Then at this point, now I guess we were about 20 minutes into this thing, or 25 minutes. I had a revelation. And I don't know if it's much of a revelation, but I just started thinking, these guys are just losers. They really, really, when it comes down to it, they're just losers because nobody would even attack Bush. There was no attack on Bush, a man who nobody in the country likes anymore, who has led us into this erroneous war. And none of these 10 guys have the gall or the bravery or the chutzpah or whatever it is to attack the guy. So I just thought that was just, and I know that's not so deep, but it just seemed like a panorama of losers. Own adults, and the morons that are critiquing this after, and I'll get to them, but nobody calls anybody out. They didn't say, well, Mitt, could you, what, for example, Mitt? But it sounds great. I'm going to cut out unnecessary and wasteful things in Washington. Really, Mitt? Really? Are you going to, Mitt? What are you going to do, Mitt? What? Anyway, just one example. Could you freaking people give us one example? Okay. Whew. Anyway, you know what? If you want to call in and chime in, I'd be happy to take some calls because we got a lot of political stuff. We're doing politics today, people. It's 718-508-9812. The next thing is they went back to McCain, and McCain looks like he's part fish, doesn't he? He looks like there's a little bit of fish there, and I know the guy's had skin cancer and I think some other health problems maybe. So I don't want to really make fun of him too much, but he looks like a fish, like the way the Penguin from Batman looked like a penguin, like that kind of. It was that much. There's something very fishy about his mouth or his face, and also he has no skin color. So he looks like a fish out of water, and actually that's not even a bad pun or metaphor for the way he acts when he's up there, because he's really not comfortable in these debate type things. So he might be part fish, and I don't know if someone can check that for me. Is there any fish lineage in the McCain family? McCain then had a solid attack on Romney's flip-flopping, talking about how he changed his opinions on even years. I don't know if you know this, but elections are on even years. And I thought that was good. That was good for McCain because McCain comes off as, again, he looks like he's part fish, and he seems very uncomfortable, and he's sort of leaning on the podium, and he just seems like he's looking at these guys like, I was a POW, I have served in the Senate all these years, why do I have to even deal with you morons? That's the air that McCain carries with him. And so it was nice to see him attack Romney, because he just needed to attack somebody. So the whitest guy there, the palest guy, attacked the fake tan guy, and I think it was more about the tan than really about flip-flopping. I really do. I mean, that's where it was at. Now, I want to just talk about something just on a philosophical note for just a second. And again, let me throw the call-in number. My people are politically cowards, I think. I think my listeners are politically paralyzed. The call-in number, though, 7-1, you know what? If I was debating on these issues with these guys, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't need notes. And yes, I am a trained professional. I am a comedian doing this for 9 freaking years now. So I've learned how to speak in front of people and try to have some kind of opinion. But I'm pretty sure that you idiots should as well. I think you idiots should. And I don't like the idea that we're standing up there, we're not going to look at anybody, we're not going to mention anybody by name, we're only going to answer questions that I'm sure we've already heard are the ones that are going to be asked to us. Their answers are all fabricated and prefabricated, and all right, so that's it for politics for today. Thank you guys for listening. And as Sean Hollenbach is telling me, it's comedians who have to tell the truth and pose these questions, and unfortunately, I don't see many comedians doing it. I'm trying to do it, and I know I can get better at it, and I will get better, and I will get more consistent and more confident and all that, and I will tell the truth, and I will work hard to keep doing that, and that's what. And see, this is also why comedy sucks, and it's directly related to this, because one of the problems is that we got whatever it is, the 4 or 5 corporations that own everything, right? And then comedians are trying to get on talk shows such as The Tonight Show that are owned by these corporations. So by the time they get there, they have been so watered down that nobody attacks the establishment anymore. Lenny Bruce is probably turning over in his grave, or Richard Pryor, and I hope you guys, and I know everybody knows who Richard Pryor is, but you can't attack the power anymore because the power is so consolidated that they won't put you on the air. So thank God that what I'm doing is free, and I guess I own this in some certain way, or at least it's not controlled now. But we have a job to do as comedians. We are the people that are supposed to call out the bullshit. But I literally have been doing comedy for almost 9 years, and I can think of maybe 4 even times in comedy clubs where I thought a comedian really hit on something that was that profound and that powerful. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to do it more and more and more and more, because I don't see a choice, because it's my job. It's my, you know what, as Spider-Man, as Peter Parker would say, with great power comes great responsibility. And I guess if you have the power of holding a microphone, then you better use something good with it. And instead I hear comedians every day talking about Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan, and I promise you I'm not going to do that anymore. And I don't really do it, but I assure you I really won't do it anymore, because these are the things that people need to be talking about, and we got to be brave to do it. And that's the problem, is that comedians, like everybody else, want success. You want the approval. I got into this because I like making people laugh. So then how did it become something that much more? How did it become something bigger than that? How did it become that? But I guess that's the cool part of life, and why you live and why you learn, because you don't know what's going to happen. But I guess I got a little bit of a little mission to. I got work to do, people.
That was juxtaposed, but that happened on the same day as the other big story was that John McCain died. So that was, I'm sure, the one that you heard about.
Okay, so this is the one that I didn't know this until about 2 days ago, and I was on the phone with my dad, and I said, we were talking about being off the grid, and I said, and I don't know anything, and it was as if he just I don't know what happened.
He couldn't stop himself. Yeah.
But he goes, but John McCain died, and I was like.
But did you know about all the fallout?
So I know nothing other than he died. So first off, I don't even know when he died. Did he just die?
So he died a week and a half ago. He died a Saturday before last.
Okay.
So I came back from Sabbath, and that was the news. So he passed away. President Trump, obviously not a fan. And the first thing so Trump didn't issue any official statement for 2 days. And then the basic rule of thumb is that when a sitting senator dies, you lower the flags to half staff until the person is actually buried. Trump did the statutory minimum. He lowered the flag for 24 hours, and then he raised it back up again. All the other federal flags were lower, but you could see a picture over the White House of the flag back up at full staff, and then at the Washington Monument, which you can see behind it, you see all of them down at half staff. He then reversed himself, lowered the flag again, issued a statement, and then at McCain's funeral, he was not invited because McCain didn't want him there, which can't really blame McCain for that. And then of this. I mean, I think that she's shifted. You know, we've all shifted since we were young, but I think that she's shifted too. But
so wait, let me ask you something. So I assume that the day he died, that there was the endless people dancing on his grave nonsense.
So there was some of that, but mostly the left was praising him because he was the anti-Trump, right? So after spending most of his life crapping all over him,
right, the guy who was racist when he ran for president and incompetent and old and
right, exactly. Then he was a great hero because he was anti-Trump, and so his entire life was defined by the fact that he and Trump didn't get along. So there was a lot of that. My own take on this was that the funeral. While I understand Meghan McCain's a grieving daughter, she gets to say whatever she wants. But that said, is it let's say that you actively want to undercut President Trump. Let's say that that's actually your goal. Your goal at this funeral is that you want to, is that you don't like what Trump stands for and you want to undercut him. Almost the worst thing you can do is get George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Meghan McCain up there bashing Trump. Yeah. And the reason for that is because there's this, what Trump is a response to is a sense that there are a bunch of elites who get together in back rooms and party with each other, and then they pretend to disagree with each other for the cameras. But in reality,
kind of true.
Which is kind of true, right? But in reality, they're backslapping each other, and they're all best friends, and they're civil, and we all get along, and then we, who are kind of the commoners out here, who are like, wait a second, these issues actually matter to me. Why do I care about your golf club? I don't care about George H.W. being friends with Clinton. I want to know who wins this political argument because it affects me, right? I don't care about how you guys get along. And so it was this feeling there was a video that was going around of George W. handing Michelle Obama a piece of candy, and it was like, well, this is what politics used to be. And I just kept thinking, no, it didn't. Yeah. I'm old enough to remember when Barack Obama was labeling George W. Bush essentially a war criminal. Yeah. And so you're going to do this whole Trump is a departure from everything that politics has ever been. It just felt really disingenuous. Not because the criticism of Trump was uncalled for, because I think some of it is called for, but because it was creating this image of politics that didn't exist and then contrasting Trump with this image of politics that's not actually real.
So isn't that an interesting example of why the 24-hour news cycle, or whatever you call Twitter now, or 24-hour news cycle sounds crazy now. We need something else. Yeah. This hyper-speed insanity of why it's a threat to our ability to think clearly about things, because the very people who you hated 8 years ago, all these, now I'm not saying it was warranted, the hate. Yeah. I regret, I don't know that I've ever said this publicly, I regret not voting for McCain. In retrospect, I think that we'd be in a very different place right now, and I think he may be the last decent man that we had running for a president, at least for a long time.
I think Romney was a decent guy, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, so all right, that might have been a little bit of hyperbole, but if you remember, he always wanted to go high.
He ran a very high-level, he refused to go with the Jeremiah Wright stuff. He called off his campaign in the last month because of the economic collapse.
Okay, so I'll modify that a little bit. I'm not without commenting on Romney specifically. I think by all measures, McCain, for whatever his flaws may be, and maybe he was a little more of a neocon than I would care for, or whatever else it is. It's like, if you don't think he was a decent man who really loved his country, you're actually crazy. And this goes to when you demonize people to the nth degree who don't deserve demonization, then you get the real demon. And I'm not even saying Trump is the real demon, but the way they flip history, so it's like you hated him forever, and you wanted to destroy this guy forever. Now he hates your new demon, because you're always finding new demons. Right. So now we got a new good guy. And it's like, that's partly because we cannot remember history anymore, because we're slammed with 3-day news stories that, I said it's 24-hour news cycle, but it's really, it's more of like a 3-day thing. We care for 3 days and then we expunge, And I think that now is becoming the real threat right now.
Okay, so final.
So we're going to start with everybody's favorite crotchety old man, John McCain. Now, as everybody knows, Rand Paul did something that I think was pretty spectacular. He did a 13-hour filibuster, basically saying that Americans shouldn't be killed on American soil without due process. That seems pretty fair. And then Mr. Old Man John McCain this week called him a wacko bird for something that's pretty patriotic, in my opinion. Where do we start with this? Is John McCain just lost his mind?
I don't think.
Alan Scott.